Hey there, how are you? Uh, Today I have some bad news for all of you car lovers out there. You know, poor, poor old Elon. It seems Tesla is tanking. Allegedly, and this is just allegedly, Tesla has $800 million stuck in Cybertrucks that no one wants to buy. Oh, poor, poor Musk. Maybe instead of playing president, he should have been taking care of his business and making those odd tweets in X, even buying X. Uh, but this is in several news outlets. Okay, I'm not going to say what I'm reading. This, you go read it, go look for it, go Google it or binge it or whatever. Bing. It seems they have over 10,000 units sitting in dealerships and in cells. No one is buying them. Good God, this is unbelievable, my friend. It might be 20,000 by the end of the year. Shit. And then I read these people trying to present uh, plausible excuses for it not to be sold, and I have seen it all. They talk about that the Cybertruck was one site, the vehicle that could usher a new era for EVs. Look, uh, are you sick or something? I don't know. I don't know where you heard this. This is from American news. Let's just say it. But Tesla was never hailed as nothing. The Cybertruck was never hailed as something. The Cybertruck was only a novelty to show dumb Americans, look, buy my car. It kind of resembles those future cars in science fiction series of the 80s. You know, I was a kid. I liked those series. Still to this day, I like to watch them. Like Buck Rogers and all of that crap. But other people, for example, here in Europe, minus the idiots that also wanted to buy it, God knows why. But we all looked at that and said, that is one ugly car. That won't fit in my garage. That won't fit in my streets. That is that is a completely stupid car. Why would you build such a thing? Such an ugly thing as sin. Look, I am all for practic mechanisms in cars. It doesn't have to be that pretty, but at least it needs to look like something. That thing, it looks like a giant walking, talking dildo or something. A metal dildo, good God. Poor girls. And Look, I can't understand. They are calling it a flop. It was a flop from day one, you know. And now they call them the swastika cars. I wonder why when he started making his little hand move in the wrong side. And they call him what? Call it the truck, Cybertruck. Of course, worst sales in Europe. Oh, go figure it. Plus, the last time I saw numbers, it was reduced to 60% in Portugal and around 80 or 90% in Germany, for example. Who would buy Teslas? And what I find this um, so funny. Now they are talking about going back to the Model Y or whatever. You want to know what I find funny about this? Is this. They are producing cars that are inferior to other electric cars from Europe, from Japan, from Korea, even from China. It's a technology. The technology they use in the car is completely outdated. Let me. I'm not an engineer, okay? But I'm a tech guy. I like computers. I like gaming, like I mentioned. I think in other videos. I like all of that. I like technology. I like computers. I disassemble computers. I like both the hardware and the software. Machines, all of that. I like it. I like to understand how things work, and even to reproduce some things and learn how to do it. You know. So I'm not a complete idiot when it comes to mechanics and all of that. But and I know, of course, the basics of a car and how what makes a car move. What you need to repair, all of that. I am able to do small repairs, all of that. Okay, but and there I go wandering again. But when I was a kid, I like motorcycles and all of that. It was fun to ride them, to assemble all of that crap. Okay, but I find it amusing that people seem to be astonished that no one would want the Cybertruck. Look, have you seen the streets in the old cities in Europe and Asia? Hmm? Have you seen how people use their cars? Those are cars, the Tesla Cybertrucks, that are specifically made to a car culture like in the US, where you even invented the term jaywalking, where you don't have sidewalks in a lot of streets, where people cannot walk to things. Those cars were a flop from the first day they left the drafting board. The first Tesla Cybertruck that left was a flop. And and then I hear this once hailed as to usher a new era in EVs. It wasn't hailed by nothing. The Europeans and the Chinese, they left this path because they knew it. The Chinese, sorry, and the Japanese and the Koreans. Okay, we need to keep it uh, true. Now, everyone except some dumbasses like this one, we abandoned this path. You know, for example, instead of self-guiding cars, we opted for assistance in guiding. which is not a bad saying, especially for a person that is older, or someone that gets tired while driving, whatever. We already had similar systems to avoid this, or people that are inexperienced. We already had these systems. It's just a matter of optimizing them. Okay, but it's imagine this as an evolution. Okay, all the ground begins to the ground starts to be too hot to walk in. So while some species develop the ability of either having uh, uh, how would I say, having wings, or for example having bigger feet with more protection against the heat, there's someone that decides that having 3 feet is better. And then when they start to walk, the 3 feet entangle in themselves and they are constantly falling and dying. This is the truth. A novelty. Look, this is the same as living in Mars. Do you know what Mars is? Let me tell you this. Mars is a ball of dust with barely an atmosphere where you, as a living creature, even if you're wearing a protective suit, like the astronauts use, would be subjected to such a level of radiation that instantaneously and at the same time you would be degraded on a cellular level into a dying pus of, of dead cells and flash freeze with a cold. Each and ever, each habitat for the astronauts to do everything would have to be isolated and not with a simple radiation protection. It would be like living in the core of Chernobyl. Okay? We we are more able of constructing colonies, for example, in the moon or in space than in Mars. The bloody planet has no protection. I know you like the tales by Ray Bradbury, you like all of that. Well, so do I. But those are just stories. The hard truth is this: all of this, all of these things that Mr. Musk and others, he's not the only one, let me be clear. And also let me be clear that I don't like the man, but I don't hate him, because to hate someone, you have to have feelings towards that person or entity or culture or whatever. So no, I just considered it idiotic. But all of this are gimmicks, because instead of working in a practic- practical car, like for example the Chinese and the Europeans and the Koreans and the Japanese were doing, he went this way of making some flashing piece of junk that looks like nothing, that is absolutely useless. So don't give me that crap about the swastika car and it's because no, all of these events only accelerated the process because the sales were already dropping in Europe. And in most of Europe, you cannot drive a Cybertruck. There is some kind of toned down version they created specifically to the European market, but even that one is not selling very well. And right now, all Tesla cars, their sales are dropping in Europe and now it's because of political reasons. So when you are talking about something, you need to be true. You know, oh, it's because of his political ideas. They don't like him, so they won't buy their cars. No, it has, it's much more than that. It has to do with the fact that that piece of technology was a piece of crap, not practical. Look, look at one of the cars that sold the most in the entire history of the industry. Cars. The Model T by far. Why? It was sturdy, it was practical, okay? And it was good. It was functional. And it had a kind of aura about it. But it was practical. A car will only have success. It's this, but this is a problem with the entire electrical cars manufacturers. Okay, they are all struggling to find a model of electric car that you can use in the same way you are using the internal combustion fossil fuel moved cars right now. And that is the way forward. And it will happen. Okay? It will happen. And I tell you this. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm not. But in 2 or 3 years, this will be solved because there are too many heads thinking about the same thing, going to the same path. Even if the US is running backwards with others, that's their issue, not ours. I don't care about that. So stop justifying the drop of Tesla sales with political questions. That only accelerated the process. What is behind this is a complete inferior technology. Inferior in the sense that it's obsolete and that it is wrong. Okay? Well, I'm not going to talk about this again because I'm really getting tired of this shit. But please, when you read news about this, that it's political reasons, that it's persecution or whatever, remember this: it's not. That is only a part of the story. Okay?